Good morning, and welcome to your AIDailyPress morning podcast for June 26, 2026. I'm your host, Walter. Firstly, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled on a landmark immigration case, potentially impacting birthright citizenship and protections for migrants fleeing instability and conflict. We'll be keeping a close eye on this developing story. In other news, Anthropic, a leading AI lab, has accused Chinese tech giant Alibaba of stealing its intellectual property to power its Qwen large language model. The allegations have sparked a heated debate about the ethics of AI development and the need for stricter regulations. Lastly, Elon Musk's net worth has taken a hit, stripping him of his trillionaire status due to steep declines in both SpaceX and Tesla shares. The decline raises questions about the valuation of SpaceX and the risks associated with investing in innovative companies. These stories are all unfolding rapidly, and we will continue to provide updates as more information becomes available. And that's a wrap. Goodbye now for the latest in social and cultural news. Here is Barbara Waters.
Thank you, Walter. Firstly, we're following a developing story in Venezuela where devastating earthquakes struck yesterday evening, resulting in at least 500 fatalities and widespread destruction. Rescue efforts are underway, with the U.S. deploying warships, transport planes, and helicopters to provide logistical support. In other news, the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of Bayer in a landmark case, stating that the company cannot be sued in state courts over allegations that its herbicide, Roundup, causes cancer. This decision has sparked outrage from environmental and health advocates, who argue that it prioritizes corporate interests over public health. Lastly, we're also covering a breaking story on the U.S. political scene, where Democratic candidate Bruce Leichtman is facing criticism for his handling of a recent scandal. However, our top story this morning focuses on the devastating earthquakes in Venezuela and the Supreme Court's ruling on the Bayer case. We'll be diving deeper into these stories throughout the day, with updates and analysis from our team of experts. For now, let's take a closer look at the situation in Venezuela and the implications of the Supreme Court's decision on public health and the environment. Now, for the latest in business and finance, here is Louis Riskweiser.
Thank you, Barbara. We are summarizing the top stories from our recent articles. Firstly, we've seen significant market movements, with tech giants like Apple, Nvidia, and Microsoft experiencing selling pressure due to concerns over inflation and potential interest rate hikes. However, companies like Micron and Qualcomm defied this trend, with their shares rising sharply after exceeding earnings expectations. In economic news, the latest data shows that U.S. inflation remained stubborn, with the core PCE price index increasing by 0.3% month-over-month and 4.5% year-over-year in May. Despite this, consumer spending continues to drive growth, with personal spending rising 0.6% in May. We're also keeping an eye on the potential implications for monetary policy, as the Federal Reserve may raise interest rates more aggressively than previously anticipated. The euro rose against the US dollar, while Treasury yields fell, and stocks are trading higher, reflecting market optimism about the economy's ability to navigate these challenges. Lastly, in a notable deal, Biotechnik Corp jumped after Germany's Merck KGaA agreed to acquire the biotech firm for $200 per share in cash, highlighting ongoing consolidation in the biotechnology sector. Now for the latest in science and technology, here is Carl Starman.
Thank you, Louis. Firstly, the European Space Agency's Euclid mission is set to launch in 2023, aiming to study dark energy and dark matter. The mission will use a combination of spectroscopy and photometry to create a three-dimensional map of the universe, shedding light on these mysterious phenomena. Secondly, NASA has partnered with Rocket Lab to launch several missions, including the Aspera project, which will study galaxy formation and evolution, and the LOXSAT mission, demonstrating in-space refueling technologies for future lunar missions. This collaboration highlights the growing importance of partnerships in advancing our understanding of the universe. Lastly, the Expedition 69 crew has returned to Earth after a 6-month journey on the International Space Station, conducting over 300 scientific investigations and emphasizing international cooperation. Their research will have far-reaching implications for life on Earth and future exploration missions. These stories showcase human ingenuity, collaboration, and the boundless potential of space exploration. Tune in to our podcast for more in-depth coverage and analysis of these exciting developments. Now for the latest in sports, here is Howard Closewell.
Thank you, Carl. We've got a packed show for you today with updates from the world of sports. First off, let's talk about the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill's athletic program. Despite facing some challenges, the Tar Heels are showing resilience and determination. Their baseball and women's lacrosse teams have been on fire, demonstrating the school's commitment to excellence. We're looking forward to seeing how the men's basketball team bounces back from its recent setbacks. In MLB news, the Chicago Cubs are gunning for a 4-game sweep against the New York Mets at Citi Field. Left-hander Matthew Boyd is returning from a 6-week stint on the injured list, and his performance will be crucial in determining the outcome of the game. Our expert, Adam Thompson, has issued his best bets for today's games, including picks for Francisco Lindor and Francisco Alvarez to hit home runs. And finally, in WNB news, Phoenix Mercury forward Alyssa Thomas has been suspended for 1 game after hitting Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark in the throat during a game on Wednesday night. The incident has sparked a heated debate about player safety and refereeing consistency in the league. We'll be keeping an eye on how this develops and how it affects both teams in their upcoming games. Now for the latest in travel and human interest, here is Charles Curl.
Thank you, Howard. Now for the latest in fashion and entertainment, here is Joan Streams.
Thank you, Charles. We've got some juicy stories to dive into today. First up, we're saying goodbye to a Hollywood legend, not literally, but Mickey Rourke's having a rough patch. The actor's been evicted from his LA home due to unpaid rent, and it seems like he's struggling to make ends meet despite his decades-long career. We'll be keeping an eye on this story. Next, we're talking fashion drama. Designer Kelly Nishimoto is calling out A-listers Paula Abdul and Kate Hudson for asking for free clothing and accessories from her brand, despite being more than capable of paying for them themselves. It raises some interesting questions about celebrity endorsements and the ethics of the fashion industry. Are these stars being unfair, or are they just playing the game? And finally, we'll be taking a look back at the life and legacy of, well, actually, that's all the time we have for today. Just kidding, we didn't get to that story yet. But now for the latest in nature and environment, here is David Atanacher.
Thank you, Joan. Firstly, a recent bird flu outbreak at Nepal's Central Zoo in Kathmandu has raised concerns over animal welfare and disease control. The zoo was forced to close its doors to the public after several birds and animals tested positive for the H5N1 avian influenza virus. While the outbreak has been largely contained, the incident has sparked a wider debate about the country's preparedness to handle animal disease outbreaks. In other news, researchers have developed an innovative tool that can identify what a predator is eating based on the shell-crushing sounds it makes. This breakthrough has significant implications for conservation efforts, particularly in marine habitats where tracking predators and their prey can be a daunting task. Lastly, we're also following a story about environmental crime and wildlife trafficking, where an innovative study has shed light on the importance of remaining vigilant and taking collective action to protect our planet's precious biodiversity. A groundbreaking study revealed that an innovative tool can identify what a predator is eating based on the shell-crushing sounds it makes, which could inform effective conservation action. These stories highlight the complexities and challenges of wildlife conservation, from disease control and animal welfare to innovative research and environmental crime. We'll continue to monitor these situations and provide updates as more information becomes available. And that completes our morning podcast for today. Thank you for listening. Until this evening, I'm David Atanacher for AI Daily Press, the world's most unbiased news source.